Today on CityCast Las Vegas, we're joined by food influencer Phil Zhang, aka Las Vegas Phil, to dish on what it's like to be a food influencer in Las Vegas and how social media has impacted the dining scene for better or for worse. And just a reminder to our audience as well, this is your last chance to sign up for our exclusive neighbors-only trivia night coming up at the Hard Rock Cafe, so make sure you get on that. We want to see you there. In the meantime, let's get it rolling. It's Monday, August 17th. I'm Jesse Merrick, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. All right, Phil, thanks for joining us. Look, we know you've been in the social media space for quite some time. I just want to know, what's the biggest food influencer myth that you've encountered since you've been doing this?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back on. It's a real pleasure to be here. I was actually at this new Philly cheesesteak place called Shady Steaks. And as I was leaving, one person was actually listening to one of the old episodes that I was on while he was eating his cheesesteak. And then I was leaving. I thought that was pretty crazy. And that was just a couple days ago. So shout out to that guy. Thanks for checking me out. I don't know if it's really a myth, but I think for a lot of people on the outside, all they see is what they believe is entitlement and things that food influencers ask for, and then how they're just like, they just think they deserve and should have everything for the video. But I think what people don't see is the foot traffic that actually comes in because of the posts. I don't think a lot of people really fully grasp what a huge post does and the impact on the business. And that's really the biggest thing for me that I think people don't understand.
Yeah, to that point, I think what you kind of alluded to is that, sometimes people think maybe food influencers are big divas asking for all of these things. And so I guess to follow up on that, how often does it happen maybe where an influencer, in a sense, holds a restaurant hostage of hey, we have a lot of control here or power? Does that happen? Or is that just a total myth there?
I think it definitely happens. I mean, there's been a bunch of examples of things like that. But I would say for the most part, it's generally influencers that come from out of town into Las Vegas and think they're entitled to everything. I think the ones that live here really have a good grasp on the service industry and restaurants. So they're not going to be divas, because ultimately they're going to go back to these restaurants. So they're going to see these servers and managers and social media managers as well. And those guys go to different restaurants eventually, and they're going to remember if they acted like a diva or if they didn't tip well or things like that.
Yeah, no, Vegas is definitely a small town, where everybody seemingly knows everyone, especially in the food scene. Like you noted, the service industry is massive. And so I'm curious, did you get your start in the food industry, or how did you even get into this space? What's your origin story?
So it's kind of a long story. I moved here back in 2006. I had a swing shift job. So we only had one car at the time. My wife would drop me off and pick me up from my job. I'd finish 11 p.m. So I was really scouring for restaurants that were open, for dinner after that. Cue Yelp, where I started writing reviews of just places that we went. Somehow became popular and known for my reviews. Okay. And then, it was crazy. 2010, 2011, I was getting recognized for being around town for being a Yelper, which was crazy. Huh. And
were you doing videos, or was that just all written stuff with Yelp?
No, it was just all written.
Wow.
And ultimately I was able to get magazine gigs, writing articles because of that. And then right around 2015, 2016, there was the initial Las Vegas Instagram foodies that started blowing up stuff just by posting pictures. And that really piqued my interest because instead of writing about the whole restaurant experience, they were able to focus on favorite dishes, things that they really loved at the restaurant. And so that's when I made the transition from Yelp to social media and kind of befriended all those guys and kind of picked their brains on how they're posting. And that's kind of how I got my start in food social media.
Is Vegas unique in the sense of are there different rules to the game here to do this compared to maybe some other cities? What makes us unique on the food influencer scene?
I mean, there's no other city in the country with as many creators and influencers that live here and come here. I think you compare cities like Boston or San Francisco, who have maybe 10 food influencers tops that move the needle. And not only do you have all the local ones in Vegas, but you have all the incoming ones, thanks to LVCVA spending so much money on these huge influencers to come in. And all the people that just fly in on their own that, see the locals posts and just want to feature those things too on their channel. So, and plus, the proximity to all these amazing restaurants in such a small area. You look at LA, if you want to do like a bunch of
4
viral
hours
food
to go
shoots,
from one to the other. Yeah.
yeah, you're stuck in traffic for so long. And, same with places, all these cities, there's no other place where you can just go from like Carbone to Din Tai Fung in the same building.
I'd love to get into it now, though, just to kind of get into the intricacies of disclosure and things like that. Because obviously, sometimes it can be a little murky of like when something is an ad or a partnership or whatever. Like for our listeners, how can they discern between those things? I guess the real question here is like, for an influencer, what do you owe your audience in terms of that transparency?
That's a great question and a very hot topic now. I see all the Reddit posts and people who think they're FTC experts now and all this other stuff. But what I can share with you is I think a lot of the public would be very surprised at how many of these posts are non-paid yet still feel salesy. And it comes across as a paid post because for a lot of the influencers, it's almost like they've created a commercial for the business where it looks like it could be paid. But primarily, it's just comp food and things like that. But yes, with national brand type things, maybe the last one I did was with Bojangles. You clearly have to say it's an ad. You clearly have to say it's a paid post. But with a lot of mom and pops, a lot of them are not actually paid when people think it's paid because it looks like a slick video.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's just comp food. I don't know if that's worth posting. I know. What do you think as someone on the outside looking at this?
If it's just comp food, I don't think so. But I think if there is an exchange of money in itself, like, to like, hey, we're paying you to come do this post, as a listener, viewer, whatever it is, whoever's consuming this content, I would like to know. But I do have a question now that you bring that up. Because like, in the influencer space, if companies are sending you product, you have to disclose those things in terms of the cost of them on your taxes. How does that work for comp food? What's that like for you guys? That's just like a random question that popped in my head.
It doesn't. I mean, nothing is noted here. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people will put gratuity on a credit card at the end. So, the restaurant just run like 1 cent and then we'll add. So for tax purposes, like the gratuity is something that we kind of add up, but that's about it. I don't, not really on the cost of food, because a lot of times they don't even give us an itemized list of
like a price,
how much things cost and things like that.
It's interesting because it's a scary space for creators in terms of like, oh, I got all this free gear, and then at the end of the year you get popped with a bunch of taxes. You're like, oh, damn, I didn't realize that. Like I've had some friends that have dealt with that, so I was wondering about that.
I mean, that would be very interesting because a lot of people who do like TikTok shop and things like that, who get like 50 boxes of product a day, that would be an interesting question. I might ask some of my friends who are really knee deep into that to see how that actually works. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, you guys are lucky not having to disclose that stuff. That's a nice little perk there. But speaking of disclosures and all that, though, like, have you encountered people getting in trouble? Because like you said, everyone thinks they're an FTC expert or whatever. But like, have you ever heard any stories of people, getting, the whip cracked on them essentially? Like, you can't do that. Like, what's that been like? Have you experienced that at all?
No, there's too many influencers. There's too many posts on social media a day. Nobody's policing any of this, to be honest. And then how would anyone, I've seen people who are accused of not disclosing payment because people just assume it's a paid post and it's not. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions from people on the outside. And ultimately, they just want to know how much money we're making, to be honest. I mean, that's the biggest curious thing. And for some reason, they feel like they deserve to know. It's like, but that's the same thing as asking, like, how many people have you slept with in your life? I think that's kind of a crazy thing for people. Obviously, want to know, but they don't deserve to know.
So, Phil, which question would you rather answer? How many people have you slept with, or how much you making as a food influencer? You led me right into it. I had to ask.
I'm not going to answer either, but I guess
Smart man.
Body count would probably be easier to talk about. I think people would be shocked at the money being thrown around these days. Sometimes I reflect on all this and I'm very surprised at how far it's come. It's crazy. But I will say there are a lot of restaurants, especially local mom and pops, that actually request that we don't divulge if we're getting paid, because all of a sudden then they're going to get hit up by 100 influencers and they're going to be given a rate on coming in. And I see that with a lot of out of town influencers now. Some random influencer from New Jersey still wants to get paid $1,000 or $3,000 to come into a Las Vegas restaurant when, all their audience is East Coast, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from. I understand where people are coming from, and it should be divulged when it is a paid promotion. But because of the lack of policing, because of the lack of, rules to do this, there's a lot of influencers that just don't divulge it. And while I try my best to be as transparent as possible, there are a bunch that don't have to, because there's no penalties, to be honest. There's just way too many posts in town. I mean, how are you supposed to know if the agreement was made via email or via DM? There's no way that anyone would know besides the owner and the creator.
The following is a paid political advertisement paid for by the committee to elect Alex Quag.
Hi, CityCast listeners. I'm Alex Quag, and I'm running for Clark County District Court Judge, Department 29. Southern Nevada is my home. I graduated from El Dorado High School and UNLV. From my first job to now raising my family, this community has shaped who I am. That's why public service is personal to me. I've spent my career serving on all sides of our justice system, representing service members in the Army, working as a prosecutor, and seeing how courtroom decisions ripple through people's lives and through our community. That's a responsibility I never take lightly. Clark County deserves judges who bring experience, dignity, and respect to every person who enters the courtroom. I'm proud to have earned the support of prosecutors, defense attorneys, law enforcement, labor unions, veterans organizations, and many others across our community. From JAG to judge, I'd be honored to earn your vote. I'm Alex Quag, running for Clark County District Court, Department 29. Learn more at electalexquag.com.
Paid for by the committee to elect Alex Quag. CityCast does not endorse candidates for office.
Coming home from a hospital stay or surgery is supposed to feel like relief, but the first few weeks alone can be scary. A little extra help at home can make all the difference in a smooth recovery. That's where Touching Hearts at Home comes in. Touching Hearts at Home is a locally owned home care agency right here in the Las Vegas Valley. For them, care is both a promise and a practice, with caregivers who are trained, background checked, and thoughtfully matched to each family. Caregivers help with daily things like bathing, meals, light housekeeping, transportation, and companionship. Touching Hearts at Home offers flexible scheduling from a few hours a week to full-time support serving seniors, people living with medical conditions or disabilities, those in transition from hospital to home, and anyone over the age of 18 who can benefit from the help of a professional caregiver. Give them a call at 702-514-0908. That's 702-514-0908, or visit their website at touchinghearts.com/Henderson to set up a free consultation, and they'll walk you through what support could look like for your family. Mention CityCast for 15% off your first month of service.
Now let's kind of pivot to just how this has all changed the food industry as a whole. But before we do that, I'm curious with you, has it changed, the way that you interact with food? Like, are you able to go out to dinner without thinking about like, oh, I need to post the video of this or whatever? Like, what is a night out for you when you're not on the clock, I guess?
So a lot of times, personally for me, I just want to go where I want to go. Sometimes if I have enough content in the restaurant to post, then I will post. But a lot of times, if I'm just going out on a night out by myself, I might just take a couple of pictures for IG stories just to say I went here. And a lot of times I just don't share where I go. So a night out for me on a day off or free nights would simply just be dining like a regular customer, ideally.
You going incognito, like fake mustache, you putting on a wig, like what do we, because I mean, you're a recognizable guy, man, on the food scene.
I don't put on a wig or anything. I don't expect extra treatment. I don't expect any of that stuff. I do my best to act like I have zero followers, just like the people at the next table. If they want to send out freebies or if they want to say hi, if they want to take a picture, great. But that's never the expectation. That's never why I got into all this in the first place.
How has this changed the way that restaurants market themselves? Given the rise of social media and people who have created platforms like you, it just seems like it's changed the game so much for them. Whereas before, it was so much about word of mouth. Now that's like poured on lighter fluid, I guess, with social media, right?
Absolutely. Things just spread like wildfire, and it could happen within a few hours overnight for sure. So I think 10 years ago, social media was kind of like just an extra add-on to the marketing plan, where now I think social media is 50%, if not more, of the marketing plan. Who are we hitting up? How are we going to shape our grand opening? And who's going to be the people that let people know what's going on with this restaurant? All the table side stuff that you see now, all the restaurants in town are looking for moments to give the customer like an experience, to break out their phone and share, hey, we're here eating this in Vegas. And I think that's a huge thing now. You want a spectacle. You need a reason for people to kind of post and share what they're eating. And I think back then that didn't really exist. I mean, IG stories didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think specifically for Vegas, it's been so social media centric, where a lot of cities outside of Vegas still don't understand this and still don't know how to do it effectively. But no other city in this country does it as well as Las Vegas.
Yeah, and I think that's a great example of my next question for you, of like, how often do you see restaurants maybe in their inception, when they're designing the restaurant, or even if they're reinventing the menu and things like that, thinking like, okay, how will this do on social? Like, is that something that's a common practice now? And is there any collaboration between you and restaurant owners at times when they're putting those things together?
Absolutely. As a social media manager myself, my wife and I run social media for 20 restaurants in town. So consulting is part of the gig as well. One very good example that I am able to share is Bodoki's, who was famous for hot dogs, and then recently, maybe in the last 4 years, blew up with their breakfast sandwiches. And that was my idea. I told them, if they want to do brunch, these Korean style egg sandwiches are what you should do. And fortunately, Unlocked and Keith Lee initially posted and blew it up and changed the entire face of the business. Basically, they consistently outsell their hot dogs. The breakfast sandwiches outsell their hot dogs, and they're only open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. now because it turned into a breakfast place instead of a dinner place. And so that would be a good example of that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of collaboration now. It may be a pain in the ass for chefs because that is another component that they didn't have to think about when they went to culinary school and when they got started in the whole industry. But yeah, it is so important now to have some sort of identity. And I kind of feel like every restaurant, regardless of if you've dined there or not, the general public should have an idea of, oh, they're famous for this. They're known for this, even though I haven't dined there. And the ones that fail to do that are the ones that struggle.
Is there a downside to that, though, of like, rather than just like, hey, let's make a great dish versus like, it's got to make sure it pops on social media with the way it's presented?
Absolutely, because, it's an added layer to the work that they have to put in. I mean, there's so much work behind the scenes for restaurant owners and staff, and for a staff person to have to light a cake on fire at the table and things like that. I mean, that's just a added stress to the situation. I got an interesting DM just a few days ago. I don't know if it was a compliment or complaining, but they said when I post, as someone that has worked in a couple of restaurants where if I posted, they feel the stress that is applied to the staff because of the surge of people that come in. Normally, I kind of coordinate that with restaurants. A lot of influencers do. We let them know, hey, we're going to post on Tuesday. Maybe on Wednesday and Thursday, you should be ready with some extra ingredients for these items. So, yeah, I think they were complaining, basically, that the rush kind of surprises them.
I guess that's kind of where like our idea for this episode started, of like, with the Keith Lee effect and just different things like that you guys do. Like, is that always sustainable for some businesses? Like, I mean, some of them, they see this massive pop and maybe they start to hire more people, open another restaurant or another location or whatever it is, and aren't able to sustain it long term. Like, are those some of the dangers even of social media in this whole space, like to restaurants?
Absolutely. I think in general, though, collaborating with a big influencer, or it doesn't have to even be that big anymore, because there's a lot of small accounts that blow up.
Micro niches, things like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think these are all crucial and important things to have as part of your media plan. But ultimately, the business itself should hire a social media manager to continue the momentum from there. If you look at a lot of the restaurants that Keith Lee blew up 3, 4, 5 years ago, there's a lot of them that don't exist anymore because they never had an existing plan to continue with posting on social media. Frankincense, unfortunately, is the biggest example of that. You talk about a restaurant that completely dropped the ball after all this massive national media attention, global media attention on the place. They did a terrible job with their own social media after the Keith Lee effect. And had they actually hired someone capable, I would feel pretty confident to say that they would still be open, but they never did. I'm just using that as one example. But yeah, they think those blow-ups will last forever, but it really should be looked upon as the best push they could have to start going, not to be the vehicle that carries them to more business for forever, because there's just so many restaurants in Vegas. It's like the Olympics of restaurants. And so everyone wants to talk about the hot new. Nobody wants to talk about a restaurant that's been open for 20 years, even though it's still phenomenal now. But that's just the nature of social media. So yeah, there's a lot of good and bad, but ultimately the restaurant needs to have a plan. And a lot of them just don't. They just hope that Vegas Starfish comes in, blows it up, and then they'll be set for the rest of the time they exist. But that's just not true.
The following is a paid political advertisement paid for by the committee to elect Alex Quag.
Hi, CityCast listeners. I'm Alex Quag, and I'm running for Clark County District Court Judge, Department 29. Southern Nevada is my home. I graduated from El Dorado High School and UNLV. From my first job to now raising my family, this community has shaped who I am. That's why public service is personal to me. I've spent my career serving on all sides of our justice system, representing service members in the Army, working as a prosecutor, and seeing how courtroom decisions ripple through people's lives and through our community. That's a responsibility I never take lightly. Clark County deserves judges who bring experience, dignity, and respect to every person who enters the courtroom. I'm proud to have earned the support of prosecutors, defense attorneys, law enforcement, labor unions, veterans organizations, and many others across our community. From JAG to judge, I'd be honored to earn your vote. I'm Alex Quag, running for Clark County District Court, Department 29. Learn more at electalexquag.com.
Paid for by the committee to elect Alex Quag. CityCast does not endorse candidates for office.
Coming home from a hospital stay or surgery is supposed to feel like relief, but the first few weeks alone can be scary. A little extra help at home can make all the difference in a smooth recovery. That's where Touching Hearts at Home comes in. Touching Hearts at Home is a locally owned home care agency right here in the Las Vegas Valley. For them, care is both a promise and a practice, with caregivers who are trained, background checked, and thoughtfully matched to each family. Caregivers help with daily things like bathing, meals, light housekeeping, transportation, and companionship. Touching Hearts at Home offers flexible scheduling from a few hours a week to full-time support serving seniors, people living with medical conditions or disabilities, those in transition from hospital to home, and anyone over the age of 18 who can benefit from the help of a professional caregiver. Give them a call at 702-514-0908. That's 702-514-0908, or visit their website at touchinghearts.com/Henderson to set up a free consultation, and they'll walk you through what support could look like for your family. Mention CityCast for 15% off your first month of service.
I am curious though, like, where does it go next as we get set to close here? Because obviously you guys are all very forward facing in a lot of your videos and everything. Like, you guys are a part of the product. You're selling yourselves in a sense for these things. I know we joked about, like, do you put on a disguise when you go out and things like that now for fun? But like, do you think maybe we see a pivot back to, like, you know, the secret shopper type of things or the food critic deal where, like, you know, they're kind of relatively unknown? Or like, where does it go next in that sense? Because again, the way things have gone, it's so forward facing right now.
I think in general, I like the idea of the secret online person kind of posting about the, you know, personally about the review, but it's honestly probably impossible to do now effectively. If someone were to do that, they would, first and foremost, they would need the finances to be able to just go to Poppy Steak and blow $2,000 and show the place on their own. A lot of these restaurants are darkly lit, so most of us have like a handheld light to accompany our phone to really be able to feature the dishes and things like that. And once you break out the light, it's kind of known to everyone around you. Oh, there's a freaking influencer over here.
There's an influencer in the wild. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So it would be tough, but it is still doable. I do see some of those anonymous posts, but you know, they're not consistently successful with those because they want to stay on the DL. It's really tough to do. Restaurants can certainly nail down, oh, this person was here at 5:30 on last Tuesday because of what they ordered and where they sat. So I think moving forward, social media is just going to get bigger as the younger generation who simply consumes all their information on social media. I mean, they're just going to rely on this more and more as time goes on. And so I think our channels are just going to get bigger and bigger, to be honest. The way it's presented obviously will change as things like Meta glasses get better. And, you know, eventually, maybe in 10 years, we won't be relying on screens to consume news and social media any longer. So that's going to be a very interesting pivot to see how that all works. If it's going to be like a TV show host style presentation all the time, which most, 80% of them do it that way. They talk in front of the camera. They act like they're doing like a Travel Channel show.
Yeah.
But I think it really depends on just how, what social media platform comes up next and how it's going to be consumed. But I would assume now it's going to be like a VR glasses type experience. Once we use that more on the day-to-day, that's probably going to be the way to go.
All right, Phil, we'll get you out of here on this because I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you for a restaurant recommendation on this show. After all, this is what you do, right? So to close out, one new restaurant, preferably one that you're not necessarily paid by, just one new restaurant for our listeners to go check out. What would it be if we've held your feet to the fire here on this one?
Wow. I'll give you two.
Okay.
One is Maroon at Sahara. I think that is the most interesting, most fascinating restaurant that has opened in the last year. And I don't, if that doesn't win Restaurant of the Year, yeah, I would be shocked. You're talking about Black-owned Caribbean steakhouse on the Strip. Whoever thought that would even exist 10 years ago? And then having dined there, I was so impressed with the food, although quite pricey. $120 for a whole jerk chicken. It's pretty wild. Wild Delicious is probably maybe $60 value. But I think to me, that would be the most surprising one. Just if you look at just the Las Vegas food scene, I mean, whoever thought there'd be Korean restaurants on the Strip? This is just a crazy thing. And that's going to evolve into more fusion, more creativity. And it's just a very exciting time. As long as we can get some more tourists to come here, that would be, that's what I'm most excited about. And then my second one, I recently revisited Big Dan Xi'an Taste. It's a hole-in-the-wall noodle spot inside the SF Market with only 10 tables. They, I think, were a James Beard semifinalist a few years ago. And just amazing value with dishes that start at only $7. And they pack the house. If you love Chinese food, Big Dan is where I'd recommend.
Awesome. Yeah, 2 places that I have yet to go but have been on my list. Phil, thank you so much for your time. Everybody, if you don't already know, check him out at Las Vegas Phil. This was a lot of fun today, man.
Great chatting to you. Thanks for having me on again.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our free morning newsletter as well. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Until then, though, take care.